Game 4 MKLeo meme. Sup, Riker? Good to see you, my man. So yeah, we looked a lot about into Tweek's gameplay, or into MKLeo's gameplay, I should say, yesterday. But not that much into Tweek's gameplay. Well, I do feel like Tweek is, in my opinion, for a lot of players, sorry for the wobbling camera, for a lot of players, the most interesting player to analyze. Because a lot of the things that Tweek does don't have a lot to do with insane insight into the game, but more so a very composed type of decision making where he doesn't take any risks that he doesn't like. Hello, Timothy. Hello. How you doing, guys? I mean, oh, you know what I love about this time of year is that finally we're getting some longer days. So it's like 7 p.m. now at my time zone, and it's still light out, which I know some of you cannot relate, but that's different. But let's just get straight into it. So I feel like if you're doing VOD review, the first thing you have to do is keep in mind what your goals are, and what your opponent's goals are. Because if you have this frame of reference, it's a lot easier to analyze where things are going wrong. Because when you don't have that preparation, it's just, it's just more of a interaction to interaction analysis. While if you focus on the strategy, I feel like there's a lot more to be learned from a single VOD. So let's get into it. I actually think this set was really, really good. And for the first watch, I just want to see what these players are up to, Just see what that strategy is. Because we saw Leo play a very mid-range type of game versus Samsora. Versus Pokemon Trainer, that's pretty hard to do though, because all Pokemon kind of have a way to dominate the mid-range. So let's see. Poor DI on that down throw. It's all good though. Good reaction by Tweek. I feel like a lot of that first stock was just advantage state and scrambles. We didn't really see how they started off. Excuse me. But it starts off with this combo right here, and you're immediately in the scramble situations where it's just reversal after reversal, and that's one of the signs of a young game, because let's keep in mind this was August 4th of last year. And I feel like the older a game gets, so the more experience the players get, the less and less you're going to see these type of reversals, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why a character like Snake, for example, who's very reliant on reversals, will fall off the better people get at fighting Snake. So stuff like that, this neutral out of shield drifting in, and then getting punished on hit because he's going for the forward tilt. Of course, it's just a few frames of difference, but especially with a player like Tweek, he's not the type of player who likes taking these type of risks. And I feel like this type of gameplay, like I mentioned, is gonna... The more recent the set is, the less you see that kind of stuff happen. And this is another one of those reversals. Like this is a classic overextension in my opinion. So this is one of Joker's main weaknesses. He has good burst range, but his burst range is extremely committal. And you can see that right here. So Tweek goes for the tech in. Thanks for the follow, respect. Good to see you, man. Hope you enjoy the stream. So what Leo would do when we looked at his set versus Samsora, right? Let me just full screen this. When we looked at his set versus Samsora, when his opponent was in the corner, he would wait a lot for the defensive option. And that defensive option, he can punish on reaction. And by focusing on punishing as many options as possible on reaction, you are making sure that your play is as consistent as possible. And especially at the top level, that is a very important aspect to have for your play. Because, okay, it's important to read your opponent. It's very important to have a read on your opponent. But in these close quarter scenarios where it's very hard to react to what your opponent's doing, well, I mean, impossible to react, right? The most important factor is, can you make decisions in which you don't have to react, or in which you don't have to guess, but you can react. So you, in a situation like this, you would wait on the opponent to go for an aggressive option, and only if he doesn't, only if he has the same discipline that you have, do you go for a more aggressive option like this. And as you can see, it's just not working out for Leo. So an immediate reversal again, back to neutral, and just so many punishes back and forth on situations that really shouldn't come up at a high level of play. And I feel like that sloppiness is part of why this set was so hyped, because anything could happen, right? But on like a theoretical level, I feel like there's a lot to be improved for both of these players. At least at this point in time, right? August of last year. And there's another one, is Leo dashing back here, reacting to the defensive option. So that's good. That's more the Leo that we know. And I feel like the most important moments to look for these type of options is when your opponent is in a corner, or when your opponent whiffs. So in this scenario, that's a whiffed neutral air landing. And by the time that Tweek could react, he was basically the thing he saw was that Leo was close by. So he whiffed the move while Leo was close by. So he buffed a roll. I'm pretty sure this is a buffered roll based on that type of reaction. Leo, though, already retreating, trying to, establish center stage control, which automatically gives him an advantage, which we talked about yesterday as well. The degree to which you can control your resource of space is dependent on how close you are to the corner. So putting Tweek into the corner to some degree here, and then Tweek reacting to his whiffed move, Leo covering the defensive option and holding on to center stage. So, excuse me for 1 second, guys. Let me just mute the mic. Alright, I'm sorry. So the moment for which you need to look for these type of defensive options is when you have a clear advantage in a pressure situation. So when your opponent feels pressure to do something, for example, they're in the corner or they whiff a move, that is the moment in which they are most vulnerable, and they have the most, they feel like they have to present an answer. And that is when these defensive options will come out in an attempt to neutralize the situation, to kind of go back to that neutral spot. And in that moment, if you can use those moments to instead go for the most consistent option, which is often holding onto your stage control, doing nothing, and by choosing to do nothing, you're also choosing to be able to react to options more easily. Sup, Rochard? Good to see you again, man. Appreciate you joining in. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. So yeah, the best option is to do nothing, choose to do nothing, react to the opponent. If they do go for a defensive option, even if they roll away, you can take stage. If they jump, you can try to anti-air them. If they shield, you can set up pressure because it's very hard for them to intercept. What's up, Verzi? Good to see you. And these are all defensive options which are very reactable. And a lot of like the mid-level players, the main mistakes that they do make are calling these type of options out. You can call out a jump and read it. You can call out a roll and smash it. But you can also just retreat to center stage, choose to wait, and capitalize on these options in minor ways without putting yourself in basically any risk. And as such, you gain these minor victories. And if you focus on getting these minor victories, you will see a meteoric rise in consistency. Like, it is the key to consistency, these small wins. So that's why Tweek is so good. Nice combo, empty air dodge to the platform, of course, very strong option. Bordiai there as well, and now he's dead. That's Arsene's weakness, one of Arsene's weaknesses. I should say that's Arsene's only weakness. Arguably, Joker's counter in base form is better in certain scenarios, but in others it's not. So yeah, that's an early lead for Tweek. I'm always, one thing about Leo that always surprises me is how good he is at finding those forward air one hits. Stuff like this, like just outrange. Like he knew Tweek was gonna drop off the platform with a short hop off, just that's something that Tweek does all the time. And even if Tweek did a straight drop through, because Leo did a retreating jump into a forward drift forward air one, he was covering this entire space without overcommitting at all. Especially looking at Tweek's position on the platform. So there's Squirtle. He's in lag now. So you switch. You see your opponent run at you. You know you're in lag. So he's not going to like go for an aggressive option. So Tweek fakes out aggression here. Waits. Reacts to this jump. This jump is very reactable. And this is what we're talking about with reacting to defensive options when the opponent is under pressure. This is pressure. Defensive options. This is his reaction though. And this is an amazing reaction. And this is great because look at what are Tweek's options here. Either he retreats back to the platform, which is not a great situation to be in this scenario. If Tweek was just a little bit further away, it would be an awesome position because there was a lot of spacing mix-ups he could have done just from the platform. But because of this position, he has to either retreat back to the platform, bad idea, go all the way into the corner, bad idea, or space out a safe aerial outside of Leo's range to minimize parry risk as well, and kind of play the landing mix-up here. This is Ramses from Nintendo. Yes, it is. Please keep it English, but I do really appreciate your view. If you enjoy it, leave a follow. I really appreciate you tuning in regardless. Good to see you, man. It's been a while, man. But yeah, so he's playing the landing mix-up, and the correct choice here would be to do like an empty landing. But instead he's going for a little bit more of an aggressive option, which honestly cannot blame him. It's a pretty safe option. But here we see Leo reacting to the jump with a short hop going over this range. So if Tweek was to land in this range, he would have gotten punished with this setup. And if he was to land in this range, Leo would have done an empty, or would have done a landing aerial, gotten relatively little lag, and would have still been able to hold on to his corner position. So Leo jumping over this option is actually like the perfect answer to this type of situation. The thing that makes it so impressive is the timing here, because I'm pretty sure Tweek fast fell this forward air, but Tweek still punished it with forward air one. So just amazing game inside right there. What's up, Messi? Good to see you, man. Hope you enjoy it, this stream today. So amazing punish by Leo right here. Once again, holding on to the corner, forcing a mix-up right here with the early air dodge, covering the landing into the left fobble. Nice switch. Frame 1 invincible to get out of it. Still gets cornered. And this is why I love Leo, dude. We were talking about gaining those little advantages. Leo is the best at gaining little advantages. And holding on to them, pushing them further and further. So when he has you in the corner, he will try to not commit. He will try to never commit, and then you are forced to work with what little resources you have. And well, at the end of the day, you can try to force an RPS. That's pretty high risk. If you play it slow like Tweek is doing, your slow play has a high chance, I don't want to say eventually, but it has a high chance of losing to Leo's slow play, because Leo has way more resources. And a lot of these little interactions that I'm highlighting are a result of how good Leo is at his strategy. So his interaction to interaction play, amazing. His strategy, even better. What's up, Patrick-kun? Good to see you, man. Hope you enjoyed the stream. So now Leo is still in an advantage. Goes for a back air. Probably doesn't overcommit because he's faster. In this scenario, probably a bad idea to go low there, because Ivysaur, one of the few characters that can return back to the stage as quickly as Joker can. So this, what he was doing right there, an amazing choice versus any character but Pokemon Trainer. This. Because right now, he can up B back. He'll be there first. Versus any character but a Tether character. So Ivysaur, the exception here. and immediately Leo going for a high approach, trying to jump over the horizontal spacing, another topic we discussed yesterday. Just a quick recap for anyone who missed it. A lot of the game, especially last year, was about horizontal spacing. Because of the low landing leg of aerials, it's very easy to set up horizontal hitboxes with those landing aerials, and as such, going for full hops or even full hop double jumps, which is why Leo is higher than Tweek's full hop right now, is an amazing way to get around these walling setups without committing. Because if something goes wrong here, he can simply retreat back to the platform, be entirely free to do whatever he pleases. But if Tweek does go for one of those walling aerials low to the ground, he will be able to go over it and punish it. Mad Ice King, thanks for the follow, man. Love the support. Good to see you. Hope you enjoy the stream. Says Leo, good reaction by Tweek. The up air, making sure he's not going to get punished. Of course, the full hop helped him out there, getting him closer to Leo to really threaten that zone. Leo instead just retreating. That was very, very good movement once again. So this is a full hop over, tries to go over. Tweek reacts, goes for a landing up air. Leo, understanding, okay, this is not the situation I want to be in. They both retreat. And this is one of the things where Patrick-kun, thanks for the follow, man. You too, thanks for the support, dude. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. And this is one of the things where you see Tweek. Okay, so I was talking yesterday about the things the best players in Smash Ultimate have contributed to the metagame. And this is one of the main things that I think Tweek has contributed. So Tweek is the best at using platforms to accentuate his neutral. And in a lot of ways, this is still very underexplored. And arguably one of the best things about the game. Not every character can do it. I think Pokemon Trainer is really good at it. Every Pokemon. I think Shulk is really good at it. Chrom mains and Roy mains use it a lot. Jump on a platform, wait a little bit, run off aerial. Stuff like that. Extremely strong to mix up your pressure. Tweek, though, he uses platforms for two purposes. He uses it first to set up his pressure, because with Ivysaur especially, you can do a full hop rising back air, land on the platform, and buffer a drop through back air. Because if you land with an aerial on the platform, you can immediately buffer a drop through and really streamline that pressure. On the other hand, he also uses it to kind of reset his opponent's momentum. And you don't see it in this game too much, I don't think. But maybe in the later games we'll see it more. But there are definitely moments where his opponent is catching steam, and instead of setting up his neutral, he'll just stand on the platform and wait, and just let the situation cool down. Just get rid of all the momentum, and then, only then does he get back into the fray. I think that's one of the most smart innovations that we've seen so far. Because, let's be real, in Brawl, platforms were not too useful outside of Smashville because of platform cancelling. In Smash 4, platforms were not too big of a factor in neutral. There was platform camping for like Corrin, maybe Bayonetta, maybe Cloud, but not a lot of other characters. In this game, though, suddenly the platforms are way bigger of a deal because of the low landing lag of aerials. And this is how Tweek uses it. So he goes to the platform, and then does a drop through aerial, and that's why this is so good. Rather than having to do a short hop aerial, where the short hop portion basically gets added to the startup of your move, you get to do an immediate falling aerial. On top of that, because of the strength of falling aerials in this game, you can easily mix it up by doing an empty landing and then getting the timing mix up right there. What Tweek also does a lot to mix it up even further is short hopping off of platforms and moving around on the platform. So either dropping off the front of the platform or the side of the platform. And I feel like if you really control all of these mix-ups, you will be able to play your own game pace whenever you want. Not whenever you want, but very frequently. This type of platform camping obviously works to different degrees versus the character, depending on the character you're playing against. For example, it's really good versus Inkling. It's really bad versus Wario or other character with command grabs. But yeah, I feel like that's like a very underrated aspect of Tweek's gameplay. So this is Tweek just setting up the neutral again. And what we were talking about yesterday, Leo, once again, I'll just recap everything I said yesterday, but for the people who haven't seen it yet, Leo as a player really likes retreating and going for those safe options to wait out the opponent's defensive options so that he doesn't get reversaled. And playing a character like Joker is extremely strong with that strategy, because when you do give up space, if your opponent plays it just as safe as you do, just as patient as you do, eventually you put yourself into the corner, and then Joker can utilize platforms like the Pokemon Stadium platforms, but a lot of other platforms as well, plus his down guns to get back to center stage. And that's not always successful, of course. It is a risk still, but it's a really good way. It's a really good complement to his natural game plan, his natural defensive, retreating, bait and punish style gameplay, which the main drawback is you work yourself into the corner. And yesterday we saw Gluttony versus Quick, and we saw how much Gluttony abused that positioning to push Quick to either pick an option, or when he does lose, get pushed off stage immediately. Because when you're in the corner, you're immediately off stage. So it's very bad for most characters to be in the corner. For Joker, it's also bad, but he has a way to get out. And we saw that immediately. Makes his way back to center stage just like that. Well, usually, if you're on the platforms, especially on Pokemon Stadium, because of the prevalence of run of fair, or run of any aerial, it's very easy to control the center stage. So a lot of Leo's game plan is just cornering. Feel like Tweek has spent a lot of time in the corner now. And I have to say, like, that's another one of those defensive options is being called out. I have to say, the main reason Tweek had that lead was because of how well he played Advantage State. Ivesar down air, very strong versus Arsene up B. Look at that, the whiff grab. Yeah, just dancing around the Squirtle, utilizing his speed so very much. That's one of the things that's very overrated about Squirtle. He's not a very fast character. Yeah, nice whiff punish. Bad drift by Tweek. That was a call out and a half. That run up grab. So that was Leo realizing he gave up center stage and trying to salvage it with the down tilt. So look at it. Look at this. That's Tweek. Like I mentioned, he moves around on the platforms a lot, which makes it hard for you to pressure him on the platform. Well, usually being on the platform is seen as a bad thing because your opponent can attack you, but it's very hard for you to attack your opponent, right? The way Tweek plays it, he makes Tweek. Well, he doesn't make Tweek, but he jumps away. So when when Leo whiffs a move, Tweek has the advantage here. So now Tweek has center stage. Leo tries to reclaim with his down tilt. Actually almost gets it, but fails. And that means Tweek gets a little bit of extra pressure, which leads into the grab eventually. These grabs from Leo are a little bit weird, but, you know. It happens when two players play a lot, it can get very... Like, the interactions can get very strange. Look at this. This pivot grab and spot dodge, that's... You don't see that normally, but when players play a lot, you see these kind of interactions more and more. A lot of player-to-player interactions in this game so far. So a lot of stuff like I spot dodge your grab, which is a straight up read, or I full hop over your move, I jump over your up tilt on the platform, stuff like that, rather than a very strong strategic input. Especially because Pokemon Trainer has such a strong advantage state, but also such a weak disadvantage. So when Pokemon Trainer is in the corner, it's a pretty bad look for Pokemon Trainer. Meanwhile, when Pokemon Trainer has you in the corner, it's a very good look. So it's very binary character in a lot of ways because of how easy it is to push your advantage versus him. And I feel like that is the main reason why this game has so much explosiveness to it. Stuff like this. This advantage state is just lasting forever. And once again, Tweek using the platform instead of running off, short hop, drop through, empty landing as well, gets into the corner but back on the ground with a potential mix-up as well. Very, very strong platform play. You overshoot into the down smash on the landing. Those are just like interaction outplays, I would say. Not really like a strategic outplay. Once again, the platform leading into a landing forward air, into pressure, into this situation. Like I mentioned, very hard when you're in the corner versus Pokemon Trainer. Okay. And there's the corner. And that's when Pokemon Trainer's in the corner. Exactly. So it goes both ways. If I'm going too fast, guys, you should just say it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them as well. I'm just ranting on whatever I see in terms of these player strategies. See, so you know, just a whiff on the punish, and I feel like a lot of those reversals, just like I mentioned, a trademark of a young game. The down tilt to get out of the corner immediately. Yeah, I feel like the high jumps from Tweek in neutral with Squirtle are very, very good because it's... I'm just soaking this all up. Yeah, the pipe is fine. Alright, good. Good to hear. A lot of this is like the full hop interaction. So it's Leo full hopping to get over Tweek. And then there's Tweek jumping to get over Leo. And getting that high position, that hasn't been a thing. Like, that's never been a thing in Smash. That's like a Smash Ultimate thing. And that is why heavyweights aren't that good in this game. Sup, Azrael? Good to see you. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Appreciate the support. But yeah, it wasn't a thing in Melee. In Melee, you don't want to be above people in general. Except if you're like Falco or you have like another like really strong downer like that. Most characters don't. In Brawl, there was like downer camping from Meta Knight, also kind of an exception to the rule. And just Smash 4 didn't really have it either. But in this game, being above someone in a neutral scenario is potentially a good thing because of how easy it is to land. And something that we saw yesterday, that we saw Gluttony do, which actually led to like a very decisive neutral win, was he would float up high in the air, and when Quick would commit to an anti-air, he would neutral air to the ground, get almost zero landing lag. And thanks for the follow, Lustros. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the support. He would neutral air to the ground, go through the up air, and then get a punish on the anti-air. And that was all like that's all very low commitment options from the full hopping player. Smash 4 Cloud there. Yeah, Smash 4 Cloud there is up there. I feel like sword characters definitely didn't mind it too much though. It depended on the character. Like Mario couldn't do much about it. He could like flood you, but some characters could really punish you for that. While in this game, everyone can full hop, and it's almost always a good option because of how strong the horizontal play is and because of how low commitment the full hop is. So that's another jump, you know, trying to get over the opponent. Especially, like we mentioned yesterday, Joker loves down guns, so getting the jump from the ledge, getting a read on that is big. Full hops, using the platform, exactly what we outlined just a second ago. Look at this Ivysaur movement. Aerial. And it's just great pressure. Leo just staying so composed, reacting to the roll. Don't think that was a very good roll, but, you know, that was Tweek trying to get center stage, I guess. I feel like the main weakness that Tweek has is that he doesn't have the confidence that he needs in his own play at times. Because his platform play is very strong, but sometimes he just gets a little bit ahead of himself and starts going for options like that, which are technically correct, but because they're so strong, they're easy to see coming. Another jump, gets caught out. Yeah, nice ledge trap. Another jump. See, he was starting the down guns. He was starting to go for down guns. If you let Joker down gun from the ledge, you are messing up in this matchup. You need to establish that this option does not fly. So look at that. That's the gun pointed forward, about to go down. But there's the up air, immediate interception. And that's anticipation. We were talking about anticipation, or well, I was talking about anticipation in my video. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the Discord or the Twitter. It's up on there. But knowing what to focus on when you're ledge trapping your opponent is very important. And versus Joker, it's better to let him roll every so often than to let him get away with down guns. Because even if he rolls, if you weren't ready for it, you can still get pressure out of it. And perhaps even, you know, with a counter roll, stuff like that, with movement, set up an advantageous situation. But if you let him get away with his jump, there's very few ways that you can get out of that situation advantageously. Anticipating and punishing it. Yeah, exactly. You either... Okay, so... Wait, let me boot up my Switch because I want to show you guys this. There's actually a very interesting thing. You condition him, but there's multiple ways you can go about this in Smash. So let's see. Let's get Smash started. So when your opponent's at the ledge, he actually has a few unreactable options. And covering these unreactable options is the key to getting better at ledge trapping. And there is a very thin line between proper risk reward when your opponent's at the ledge and going YOLO. So it's a balance between the options that you want to cover and the options that the opponent wants to go for. Actually getting a black screen. There you go. So the main thing about this game that makes ledge trapping different than the previous games is landing aerials, right? So let me just go to Final Destination. Hello, Circe. Good to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thanks for the support. So it doesn't really matter who this is against. Of course, characters can... of course, characters have individual mix-ups like the down guns, but this concept that I'm about to show you is universal to the game. Thanks for the good luck, Nier. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the support. Down guns is such a hard option to punish, mostly because you can do so fast. Exactly. So when the opponent is at the ledge, you can do multiple things. One of the things you can do that is really good is using a lasting aerial that either auto cancels or has very little landing lag to punish jump. So if I do this, oh, fucking CPUs. If you do that and he jumps, wrong streamer. If you do like a rising lasting aerial like that and he jumps, you will always cover the jump, and that's very, very strong to do. Things like Fox and Air, Sheik and Air, stuff like that, you will always cover the jump. However, doing that will open yourself up to other options such as get up attack or roll. Hi there, hi, and I'm Mewtwo, Leffen lookalike. Damn, bro. Never heard that one before. Glad to have you here regardless. So stuff like that loses to a get up attack, loses to a roll. So that's like the mix-up that you're playing, right? Do you want to cover like get up attack and roll, but with shield usually like the lowest risk option around the ledge? Or when your opponent has a good option from jump, do you opt to go for more lasting aerials such as this to cover that jump? And I feel like that is key. Why does the deep Ramses spot get me? I hope never, Ziltoid. I hope never. But yeah, so that's a decision you need to make beforehand. What is going to be your style of ledge trapping? Will you stand around here, maybe cover the neutral getup with pokes, be able to react to rolls easily? A character like Peach, for example, that's slower, has a good ledge roll, will be rolling more frequently. A character like Joker with a good jump option will be jumping more frequently. So perhaps a ledge trap like this would be better. And that is a big part of the matchup. Ledge trapping is not just a singular thing that you learn and that you apply. It's a thing that shifts in every matchup. I feel like one thing, for example, is when Choke's on the ledge, he can do this. And in speed, he can do it even faster. And in jump, he can do it even further, right? And it's all those sorts of mix-ups that you have to keep in mind when playing your advantage state. and I feel like it's very important for this Joker to play a ledge trapping style that covers jump most frequently. So a little bit of a tangent there, but that is how you establish control over ledge jump, basically. It's a little bit hard to do properly, but if you get used to adjusting the way you play a ledge trap situation, it's very easy to consistently adjust between different matchups. I missed the last few follows. I think there were Unknown Mewtwo and Nier. Thank you guys for the follow. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it a lot. Glad to have you guys around, and I hope you enjoy the stream. So think about the option day one and cover that foremost. Yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's an interplay. Oh wait, let me go back to there you go. It's like an interaction between your optimal option and their optimal option, and there is a time to go for your optimal option, and there is a time to cover their optimal option. And I feel understanding which to go for when is also a very important aspect. Personally, as a player, thanks for the follow, Ooze PNG, appreciate it. Personally, as a player, I prefer covering their ideal options, because a style like that, where you shut down their optimal choice, is, in my opinion, the most consistent style to play, because that means that you never get into like a worst case scenario. Meanwhile, it's also the lowest reward for me. So a character like Wolf, for example, Wolf can go for what's optimal for him. He can go for like a back air read on your jump, and if it fails, still get a decent position, even if you're not one to jump too frequently. Ledge trapping is such a complicated aspect of the game, mostly because it's reactions plus reads. Yeah, and the thing that will up your ledge trapping game is, first of all, what I just talked about, and second of all is anticipation. So understand which option of theirs is most likely to come out, and be ready to react to it, because that will increase your reaction speed tremendously. It goes at the cost of reacting to other options, but some of the other options are very reactable. For example, if you're shielding by the ledge, you can react to normal get up attack, drop down jump aerial, and roll without anticipation. But you cannot react to jump, right? So it's kind of like a risk reward of the different styles of ledge trapping, and you need to adjust your style to the way your opponent is playing the ledge game. Is there a place to see ledge option frame data? Yes, there is. It is www.ultimateframedata.com. It should have a stats page. Oh, I'm sorry. There's no links. But yeah, it's ultimateframedata.com, and then click on the stats button. Thank you, Aki. I appreciate it. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, it's reaction plus reads plus anticipation. So part of the read that you're making during ledge trapping is that you read which option they're going to take and anticipate on it, except when it's jump, in which case you can like use coverage aerials to kind of cover that option, and because they're so low commitment, you can oftentimes transition into a more traditional ledge trap. Do you think it's better to have a set ledge trap or a ledge trap that counters a specific character's strong option? Switch between the two. So if your opponent is at 80 and you can win the game off of a read and you think you have to read, then you should go for it. But in general, have a few different ledge trap flowcharts and mix them up. One thing that the Buzz talked about on his YouTube is to move around the different positions when ledge trapping. Yeah, so that's exactly what I was talking about, is you have different styles of ledge trap, and the way you mix up is by using your movement so that your opponent doesn't know which one you are focusing on right now. So if one of your ledge trap is shield at the ledge, you can shield at the ledge, then transition into a roll distance position to cover a jump plus roll plus get up attack type of option from the ledge, etc., etc. So using your movement to mix up the way you're ledge trapping is very important. Leo is very good at it. That is a fancy teacup. It is a fancy teacup. I like it. It's an Alice in Wonderland teacup. We got it at Disney World. It has lemonade in it, so you know, but. Is it best to mix up your ledge trap with reactive trapping and re-trapping to cover? Yep. Yep. Just the main thing for both sides, you want to mix up in such a way that your opponent doesn't get a read on you. So if you're on the ledge, you want to mix up so that your opponent doesn't read your options, and when you're ledge trapping, you don't want your opponent to know which option you're focusing on. So. Yeah, that's kind of the interaction. That does take away from the fanciness. You're a hater, man. That increases the fanciness at least threefold. At least threefold. I'm giving so much advice, you'd think this was a coaching stream. So this stage is pretty much the opposite of Pokemon Stadium, right? It isn't. Oh, the lemonade. Okay. The lemonade makes it a little bit less fancy. I'll give you that. I ruined the mystique. But yeah, it is. This stage has the center platform and a very small stage, whereas Pokemon Stadium has the side platforms and a very big stage. So it's very logical that MKLeo would go for Smashville if Pokemon Stadium doesn't work. I feel like this type of platform arguably works even better for Tweek. The only issue with this layout is that when Tweek is in the corner, it's even worse for him. Meanwhile, Leo doesn't mind being in the corner too much still, because he can do high guns, land on the platform to lower his risk. Pokemon Trainer obviously doesn't have a down air that's that good. Extensions with the platforms, good damage here. So yeah, a lot of fighting over this space right here. So look at the way they move. He moves backwards, creates the mid-range scenario. He jumps backwards, weaves in forwards, and that's something that both of these players are doing constantly. Why? Because when you jump backwards, it's very hard to get anti-aired, especially a full hop like Tweek is doing here. Squirtle doesn't have the best airspeed, but he has a lot of control over his airspeed, so it's very easy for him to adjust his drift from left to right. And as such, the jump backwards into drift forward that we saw Leo do game 1 as well, very strong tool to not get anti-aired and still get the landing aerial out. Look at that, he's just doing it twice in a row. Landing there. I've said landing there is pretty bad. It's one of those reversals, man. We were talking about them before. Not much more to say. I feel like usually the games that Leo loses are the games that, because of his patient and consistent playstyle, he loses because his opponent gets a few good advantage state reads on him. Yeah, a lot of platform play here to corner the opponent. So was this Evo before the PT buff / nerf? Yes, it was just, I think the patch was already out, but they played on the old patch, I think. Because I do remember in the game 4 where MKLeo just goes haywire. Tweek gets like a 4th throw with Charizard, which doesn't kill, which would have killed post-patch. A tragedy. So look at that, retreating to the platform, rising there, retreat to the platform. And because of the way the stage works, that platform is always available. So he can do a lot more like rising aerials and always be safe. Full hop over the options, full hop over the options, full hop to intercept. Lots of fights for full hop, double jump. Lots of fight for the vertical positioning in this set. Tweek hit someone with the Galaxy Dart in this tournament. Yeah, that's true. Am I dropping frame? It says I'm not dropping frames, but I can was it dropping frames? Oh, damn. I can lower the bit rates. Maybe the YouTube sucks. Okay. I lowered the bitrate. Maybe that will help a little bit. Oh, I should up the bitrate? I'm confused. Yeah, the pausing and resuming, it lags a little bit for me as well. That just kind of sucks. Can we get the 144p hyper-registered cam experience? Can we? Let me get to your question, Mezzy. Hello, Petrino. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoy the stream. Do you think a bigger platform is better for a Tweek's platform game or worse? Wouldn't having a bigger platform limit the amount of options you have in certain situations and positions compared to smaller stages? So, like we mentioned, when Tweek does these rising aerials, it's very easy for him to retreat to the platform and really lower his and really lower his God, I lost my train of thought. Really lower his risk when doing these type of things. Okay, I adjusted my settings. If you guys are still having issues, let me know. If not, well, possibly I'll look into it in the future. But I try to fix it. So yeah, good landing punish right there. Just a lot of advantage state still. That switch was big brain. That was Galaxy brain. So once again, like the full hop over the options, full hop, and it's so strong. And the only way for Leo to really deal with it, another one using the platform, like I mentioned, full hop back air onto the platform, into a landing back air. Look at that. Amazing walling, and the only way to deal with it is to hard call out the jump. But if he's doing a retreating jump or even a jump towards the platform, it just becomes that much harder for Tweek to consistently call it out. Okay. Good to hear, Ziltoid. So I feel like the fight for the vertical spacing is something that the regions that are not at the top level yet, like Europe, and for example like Australia, I feel like they are lacking in that aspect for a lot, in a lot of ways. They still play very much according to what they want, so what their characters want, and not so much going for the option that counterplays the opponent's option. When you're focused on your own character, you get like a bias in how you think about your options, right? Because you're focusing on, oh wait, if I get this grab here, I'm gonna get a 45% combo, and it's okay if I get hit a few times. It's okay if I get hit a few times. When I do get that hit, it's 45%, right? So it's worth the risk. But I feel like that's not the case. I feel like for top level, it's extremely important, extremely important to go for the options that counterplay your opponent's options. And if they do lead into a grab, that's good. But if they don't, that's fine. That's fine. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a hit. You're going to get advantage state. And if you're a good player, you can push that advantage state far enough to get more than 45%. Very important. There's a down throw, immediate answer. That was Tweek. That was exactly what we're talking about. That down air, it's not a good neutral tool. It has pretty poor range. Why are there only 20 viewers? Thanks, Yika. Hello, good to see you, man. Appreciate the support. So yeah, like, this is not a good neutral tool. This is a decision made entirely, well, not entirely probably, but largely on, okay, what do I want? Thanks for the follow, Yika. Good to have you here once more. I mean, I already welcomed you, but still, really appreciate the support, of course. But yeah, if this was, hello, Petrino. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the support, man. But yeah, if this was a decision based on the read, and the read here is basically I can stuff out an approach, because this down air, if you look at it, it's not gonna beat any moves. It's not gonna beat any moves that Joker has. Like, that Joker will realistically throw out in the neutral here. So the only real thing that this down air would have beaten is an approach, a direct approach. So it's a very high risk, well, not very high risk, but a high rewards way of saying, I think you're going to overshoot here in an attempt to get the center stage. If he wanted to go about this a safe way, he could have gone for like a landing aerial, like a forward air, like a rising forward air, poke forward, drift back, utilizing Squirtle's movement. Stuff like that. Instead, this is like the highest. This is entirely focused on what would I like to get here. Because if that down air hit, he would have gotten like 60%. And now he's in the corner. And Leo, he didn't go for his high risk, high reward grab starter. He waited. He played the patient game. And look at the damage he has racked so far. And he's still racking more. So while Tweek went for the option that would have been the most rewarding, Tweek, with his low reward option of shielding, actually got the highest reward here. Way higher of a reward than he would have gotten, than Tweek would have gotten, I would say. Tweek would have gotten a long combo, but no advantage state after, to the degree that that's happening right here. So this is a telltale sign of why going for a small punish plus advantage state is way better than going for that hard punish that you're looking for. Do you feel like Tweek started with a down air based on the assumption that an option like short hop fast fall nair would come? Something like that. I think it was more a call out on Tweek's movement. More like, hey, you're going to try to occupy the space. And I think it was a call out on the fact that Tweek was gonna wait it out instead of playing a defensive game. He would either wait and occupy the space or approach aggressively. And at the end of the day, Leo does what he usually does, which is play bait and punish and kind of react to his opponents. So look at that. That's 70%. And once again, Tweek's excellent use of platforms. Wouldn't Affair have been better with that? Yes. For Tweek, forward air would have been amazing. For Leo, possibly. But I feel like the shield here was a good balance between risk and reward, because it's pretty low commitment. And if Tweek would have poked with like a forward air, it would have been like a neutral exchange. Like no one wins, no one loses, basically. Maybe slight advantage for Leo even. But yeah. Yeah, for Tweek, definitely. That's what I mentioned. It's like, if he wanted to beat that option with a read, like he did, but with less commitment, it would have had to have been a forward air. So Tweek using the platform to get out of this advantage, very smart. Like, that's just one of the many things that Tweek does with platforms. I think if you guys have some time after the stream, you guys should check out some of Tweek's games and just the way that he uses platforms to accentuate his movement. Actually insane. Another full hop. High approach, gets stuffed out. That's a shame. See, and now, this is something that we haven't seen before, right? Once again, Tweek retreating to the platform in disadvantage. And we saw this type of situation before, but back then, Leo was right here, right? So when Leo is here, you have this open space to work with. When Leo is here, you have nowhere to go. So this situation, 1,000 times worse than the previous time we saw this happen. Tweek, though, master of the platforms, short hops off, or full hops, fast falls, neutral air dodge, anticipating an anti-air, doing exactly what we saw Gluttony do yesterday. And instead, Leo, waiting it out, actually gets the read here on the type of option. But because neutral air dodge is this good, is this broken, Tweek gets away with it. So Leo was definitely expecting a landing aerial there. And that is the difference between anticipation and raw reaction. So in this scenario, the air dodge unexpected option means Leo didn't react on time, means Tweek gets out. Using the little space he has, retreats back, tries to force a whiff. Leo just kind of trying to hold on to center stage though. And here we see Tweek do something that we've seen him do a few times already. And that is roll to center stage. And I feel like the fact that we see it here again really betrays Tweek's game plan. So let's look at this logically, right? We've seen the way Tweek plays neutral. We've seen the way Tweek plays advantage. We've seen the way Tweek plays disadvantage. In all three of these aspects, the most important factor to enable his decision making are the platforms. I'll bet you he has banned Find Destination, and I bet you he bans Find Destination on every Pokemon Trainer game that he plays. No one is used to the way Tweek uses platforms, and that's a big boon to him. And it's working out well for him versus Leo. His offense is stripping Leo up. His disadvantage is very hard for Leo to get a hold of unless he's in the corner. And when he does have those platforms available, he can make radically different changes to his neutral. For example, full hop neutral air, double jump retreat to the platform, or stuff like full hop back air, land on the platform, falling back air, and even do mix-up with like the fast fall neutral air dodge, right? So there's a lot of variations that these platforms are adding to Tweek's play. But rather than enjoying the corner situation and utilizing the platform, he's constantly fighting for the center stage. So what he knows, what I think he knows, and I don't know this for sure, but looking at this to me smells like Tweek really valuing center stage. I think that is the main dynamic that we're seeing at play in this set, is the way Tweek fights for that center stage. And we saw him get punished for this role before. This time around, makes it through Leo. And Leo counter-rolling, trying to get center stage. And Tweek understanding that this is the battle for center stage, covering, dashing back, pivot grabbing. That was not on reaction, I can promise you that. Covering the center stage immediately and making sure that Leo doesn't get access to it. Very, very interesting. And this is a trademark, like a signature aspect of a matchup in which neutral is not the defining factor. Whereas if we look at, for example, Leo versus Samsora, where we saw the way Samsora played neutral, we saw that yesterday, the way he played neutral changed so drastically compared, if you compare the games he won to the games he lost. The games he lost, he was playing Leo's neutral, right? A lot of mid-range, didn't get time to pluck turnips, a lot of time stuck in the corner. In this game, the neutral doesn't matter as much, and it's a lot about the advantage. And when neutral doesn't matter as much, the main thing you do want to control is your stage, because then when you're in the center and you get put in this advantage, you can still retreat to the corner and probably make it out. Meanwhile, if you are the one in the corner and you get hit in this advantage, you're off stage and you might lose a stock early. I'm sorry if that is confusing. But believe me when I say in a matchup where disadvantage is key, center stage is also key. You don't want to be put off stage, so you fight for the center stage. And because the neutral game plan is very... the neutrals of both characters are very neck and neck. Focusing on your positioning as opposed to the opponent is less important than focusing on your positioning as opposed to the stage. Sup Yafi, good to see you, man. Nice to see you drop by for the second stream in a row. But yeah, immediately roll back to the center is Tweek, and just pressuring the center stage, going to the platform, going to the center. Look at this. They're fighting over the center constantly. If you look at, okay, so in neutral, there's always a contested ground. So a ground, if you neutral, that's important. You try to make sure your opponent gets into disadvantage instead of yourself. What does it mean? Their neutrals are neck and neck. What I mean with that is that when you win the game, mostly through advantage state rather than neutral wins, then your neutrals are basically neck and neck because the neutral is less important. This is usually in matchups. No, this is always in matchups in which the neutrals are so close to each other in power level that advantage state usually becomes the defining factor. Another aspect might be how bad a disadvantage is. So, for example, Pokemon Trainer has a really bad disadvantage and a really good advantage state. So for Pokemon Trainer, it's always very important to hold on to center stage. So yeah, if neutral is less important, you try to make sure your opponent gets into disadvantage instead of yourself. Well, I mean, you always want to make sure your opponent gets into disadvantage. But if neutral is less important, you try to make it so that when you do get put in disadvantage, it's less of a big deal by taking center stage. Because if you're in the corner, you get hit, you're off stage, you're boned. If you're in the center, you get hit, you are not off stage yet, and you have way more chance to, recover without losing your stock. One thing I always found amazing about Tweek is that he has a lot of patience in the corner and is always looking for a safe way out. I think Samsora is way better at that, actually. I think Tweek, at least if we look at this set, he is very antsy to get out of the corner. A lot of rolls to center stage. A lot of rolls and a lot of aggressive options as well. I think Samsora is probably like one of the best at getting out of the corner. I think Leo is really good as well, but part of that is, of course, the Joker pick. Smash Bro, thank you for the follow. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoy the stream. So yeah, I think this set is kind of a bad example. Okay, well, fair enough. I have to say, when I watch Tweek, I mainly focus on the way he uses platforms because I feel like that's the main point where you can learn from him. But you could be right. I have to say, I'm not an expert on Tweek's corner game. So yeah, this is all just fighting for that center stage. A lot of like contesting of this space, right? So these players don't want to establish their burst options in this contested range because if the opponent sets up a wall, how do you know if the matchup is advantage state based or not? I feel like Gluto is good at getting out of the corner as well. Yeah. I feel like Wario has a lot to do with that as well. Of course, yes, Air Drift, as you mentioned. And he has a lasting hitbox with 2 hits on neutral air, and even Bike, and a good burst range option in dash attack as well. How do you know if a matchup is advantage state based or not? Okay, so it's kind of something you have to feel out. But usually it comes down to the neutral interactions. And while yes, pretty much every character has good advantage and bad disadvantage, there's also various degrees of how good and bad they are. So for Pokemon Trainer, like their disadvantage is noticeably bad. While for a character like Zerasuit or Joker or Shulk, their disadvantage is, it's bad, but it's not the worst. Samus' disadvantage is bad, but it's not the worst. Wario disadvantage is bad, but it's not the worst, right? It's hard to gimp these characters. It's hard to juggle these characters due to their various stats, right? Versus Zerasuit, if you want to win, a lot of your wins are going to be from neutral. You're going to have to play neutral. That's a neutral-based matchup. A lot of matchups that are slower are often like neutral-based matchups, where it's more about the small interactions in neutral rather than getting that one advantage state that lasts forever. But yeah, I feel like if you were to say most of the matchups are advantage state based, I would say probably because of how bad most disadvantages are and how good most advantages are, of course. But if you're playing versus Little Mac, you're basically always playing a advantage-based matchup. But it pretty much goes one way, because you want to abuse his disadvantage. But when you're in disadvantage, he cannot do much. So it kind of differs per character, right? Pac-Man, for example. Pac-Man is very neutral-based. When you're in disadvantage versus Pac-Man, there's not a lot he can do. A lot of his kill options even come out of like neutral state. And if you look at a character like Greninja is another character that's very neutral-based, because he can even find his KOs in neutral, right? Meanwhile, Wolf as a character, I would say, is very advantage state reliant, because if you don't play the advantage state well as Wolf, you're never going to get a KO. You're never going to get a kill. So it's a little bit of feeling out. I cannot tell you straight up what makes a matchup advantage based or not. And of course, there's a different degree of importance to neutral and disadvantage and advantage, but they're all important in every matchup. That goes without saying. How would Terry fall in this grid from your view? I think Terry is definitely a character that you have to beat in advantage and disadvantage. I don't think the neutral matters for Terry at all. I think Terry himself kind of forces his way in, and due to high damage output, great KO options, and good advantage state as well, he basically makes it work. Kind of like Ryu in Smash 4. Lucina is a very neutral-based character, but in some matchups she's advantage state-based because of how good her offstage game could be in some matchups. But like I said, like slower-paced characters are often more neutral. But yeah, Terry kind of forces his way in, and the way you beat Terry is to KO him on his recovery or before he gets smashed. And if you don't, then you basically lose. So yeah, if your win condition is gimp them or kill them out of a juggle, stuff like that, it's probably going to be an advantage state-based matchup. But let's get back into this, because I was talking about contested ground, right? So contested ground plays into burst ranges. And this is a very clear example of contested ground, right? So if Joker dash attacks, he will cover like this space, and Ivysaur can cover this bubble with his forward air, stuff like that, right? So this kind of space is very much a no man's ground. Neither of these players have more control over these than the other. And that is when you're going to see a very important mix-up between burst range options, walling options, and setup options. So an example of a burst range option would be Leo dash attacking here, right? An example of a walling option would be Ivysaur dashing forward a little bit, jumping and doing like a falling forward air. That's a walling option. And an example of a setup option would be Leo full hopping and going for like a landing backer or an empty landing mix-up. So as you might have noticed, that's kind of like an RPS situation, rock, paper, scissors situation, where the burst range would beat the setup move, because if he would set up, he'd go for a dash attack. Ivysaur would be in a juggle situation, right? But if Ivysaur goes for a walling option, he will beat the burst range option. But if Ivysaur goes for a walling option and Leo goes for a setup option, Leo will beat the walling option. So it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors that's going on in a lot of neutral situations. But especially in these situations where everything kind of just explodes, like here. So this is a walling option by Tweek. Leo went for the setup, but was actually too slow to get the punish. And then Tweek adapts, goes for a burst range option with the second back air, misses because Leo was retreating, and now Leo should get the punish, and he messes up. So at the end of the day, there was like 3 or 4 interactions at lightning speed, and I think a lot of the takeaway here is that the most safe option in these kind of scenarios is often like walling or setup. As we saw, say Leo would full hop and he doesn't see anything to punish. He can retreat to the platform, he can double jump down gun, all that kind of stuff. Tweek can do very similar things to make himself safe. So that's why setup is safe. It's also very high reward because you get a landing aerial oftentimes. Burst range is the least safe option, and also oftentimes the least rewarding one, but it is one that you have to establish. It's very good at constricting your opponent's movements. And then there's the walling option, which basically is the middle ground. Like, it's not too high of a reward oftentimes. It could be a landing aerial, it could be a rising aerial, but usually it's done retreating, so you don't get much of a follow-up either. You do get the center stage, so that's kind of like the in-between. So there's like high risk, burst range, low risk, setup, and kind of the in-between is walling. So now we're in the corner, immediate read on jump. Have I told you guys that Joker really likes to use down guns when he's in the corner? Have I told you guys that it is good to read it when Joker goes for down guns when he's in the corner? And to limit his options, especially his strongest options? Thank you, Tweek. He deserved that kill. So yeah, once again, using the platform. And that is a pretty interesting dynamic. That don't think so. A pretty interesting dynamic. No, but it seems important. Yeah, it is. I would say it's pretty important. So look at this. Disadvantage goes back, retreats, contested ground. They both go for the waiting option. Both retreat, but Tweek retreats to the platform. Leo goes low. Now, technically, I would say Tweek has more pressure, but he misreads the situation, and at the end of the day, gets grabbed. This is actually, if you time this correctly, you can spot dodge before the grab comes out, and I wouldn't... Oh no, Tweek actually tries to go for the up tilt, even worse. So basically just a bad option by Tweek, bad pressure by Tweek, I would say. But retreating to the platform here gave him way more control over the center stage than Leo, who just retreated back on the ground. That said, Joker's run of aerials are not as good as Pokemon trainers, so I do feel like it was the best choice by Leo. He just should have waited at a longer range rather than at a range in which Tweek can set up pressure. Because that's the limit. The thing that is bad about platform pressure is as soon as Tweek is here, his range bubble becomes extremely limited. Like, his up air only reaches to like barely the center of the stage. Forward air goes a little bit further, doesn't lead in too much, not the greatest shield pressure either. So his threat bubble gets limited and he becomes more predictable at the cost. So it becomes more safe, but also more predictable. So that's kind of like the trade-off that you're making when you're playing around platforms. And the mistake that Leo made here is going in too close into the threat bubble. And the only reason he gets away with this is because Tweek messes up here with the pressure. Jumping in the corner feels like an option a lot of characters favor to do in high/top tier range. Yeah, for sure. Especially with how much we've seen both of these players go for full hops and full hop double jumps to kind of fight for vertical control on the stage. I have to say, guys, we've been streaming for an hour and we're only like 9 minutes into the game. I told you guys I would go in depth. So actually offstage pressure again, like we mentioned before, probably not the best idea in this matchup. Very good player-to-player interactions right there. Good spot dodge read. Into the corner. Nice answer. That forward tilt was a read on the jump, by the way. Look at those empty jumps. So many empty jumps. I really want to see what happened there, honestly. I feel like general tips to beat the Joey from the ledge. Let me get into that after looking at this interaction. Oh, he actually tried to dash back here. Oh, he actually managed to make this work. It's right here. I think that's a grab, but I'm not sure. Either way, a little bit of a mess up right there by Tweek. Very interesting movement though. A lot of empty movements, leveraging the fear and the respect that he put into his opponent. So general tips to beat the Joey from the ledge. So those who don't know about the Joey is when you do a drop off aerial from the ledge, and then so you do like a drop off double jump aerial, and it's usually a multi-hit aerial that is meant to be both a burst range option, so it has like the first hit, and a landing option, so there's a second hit. So the thing to know about the Joey is that it's unsafe on shield. It looks safe, but it's oftentimes not safe. So you can punish it out of shield most of the times. And if they do want to make it safe, they have to delay their aerial a lot, in which case it becomes even easier to intercept. And that is one of the other weaknesses of the Joey. Intercepting it means that your opponent dies, because they have to do a drop, jump aerial, they lost their double jump, and now they're off stage. So if they don't die, they're probably Inkling, but most characters there have a really bad scenario in front of them. And I think intercepting is the highest reward option to pick there. I think the most consistent option is to stand at around a roll distance and ledge trap from there. Another option you might take is shielding at the ledge and just shielding it, punishing it out of shield right there. Ledge trapping from like a lateral distance is very strong. The main option that gets past this position is a normal getup, but when they normal getup, they're still in the corner, so you can transition into a corner advantage phase, so to say. And cornering your opponent is extremely important, as we're seeing this match. Look at that platform movement. Very well done by Tweek. Very weird movement right there. I feel like Tweek is kind of fishing for that KO. Gets punished for it. I feel like with Charizard, you kind of have to establish your crazy options because you don't have a very strong, consistent flowchart. Your options are usually pretty high committal. And rather than try to play a playstyle that doesn't work with Charizard through going for those low risk, low reward options, it's kind of forcing it. It doesn't work, so you have to establish your risky options and kind of read your opponent based on that. That's also why Heavies are often less consistent than other characters, because they kind of rely on these little reads on your opponents based on the way you've conditioned them. But that requires a little bit of effort to do consistently. It also means they're very swingy, though. Yeah, Tweek's panicking. Yeah, that sucks, but he makes it back. Oh, he doesn't. Very nice edge guard. That counter is very strong versus Charizard. And Tweek not waiting out the Arsene, big mistake. So yeah, look at how these players. Let's revisit this real quick to just illustrate this point. Right now, this is the full hop, trying to see if there's something punishable. Leo dashing forward, reacting to the full hop, and Tweek getting a landing mix-up out of it. That's just one of those things that's gonna happen a lot. And the reason why I think Tweek is not succeeding with these full hops is because he's not mixing up his landings enough. He could even down air here, and if he crosses up, that's pretty much safe versus Joker. But that will mix up the timing. He could definitely empty land and go for a grab or a forward tilt, even an up tilt, because Squirtle's up tilt is extremely safe on cross up. Very hard to react to as well. So he had a lot of options, but he keeps going for landing aerials because that is the least punishable option. But it's costing him a lot of pressure, because going from contesting the middle of the stage from the platform from which he jumped to being at a frame disadvantage on Leo's shield, not a favorable situation right there. So that is while it doesn't look like he's getting punished, that is definitely a big loss on him that I've been seeing for all these games basically. So a lot of contesting of the middle of the stage still, and there was the down air cross up into the up tilt, basically exactly what I was saying right there. And now there's the corner, commits to the jump read again, gets punished for it, and still finds it. That's amazing platform play still. Retreating to the platform as he has been doing. Look at that. Empty air dodge. Punishing the juggle attempt. Like the neutral fast fall air dodge. Amazing anti-air tool. Extremely underutilized. And imagine you're in a position where you're Leo, right? And you see Tweek constantly full hopping. And even though you know he's going to do a landing aerial, you cannot do much about it. Because, you know, parrying would be a pretty high commitment option. Especially with the amount of timing mix-ups that a character like Squirtle has. So you kind of have to let him full hop constantly. And there's no way for you to really call it out in a safe way. You have to hard commit to it. And the one time you do hard commit to it, you lose to a neutral air dodge down and get killed for it. That's why this strategy is so strong. The main point at which you have to beat full hops is on the rising part. And what you see Leo do every so often is he does like a full hop double jump so that you cannot even pressure him during the rising part. But it does weaken his landing part of the full hop. But yeah, Leo's cornering very important this game. I feel like Tweek committing extremely hard to corner pressure, which is definitely a main drawback that I've seen this game. Forward tilt was an error, but still the right idea there on the platform. Another roll to center stage, just Tweek being very antsy to make it back. Anti-air / whiff punish. I'm sorry, could you rephrase your question? So let's go. Thanks for the follow, Rocket Noah123. Thanks for the support. Hope you appreciate the stream. Let's go to the legendary game, right? Is that... No, that's not set 2. That's set 1 still. Game for Leo. Regarding the full hop punishes. So, an anti-air, like a full hop up air, for example, you neutral air through it, and then you whiff punish the anti-air. So just calling out the approach again with the grab. Very good. So here we see another one of those situations, right? So we got full double forward tilt, a little bit of a pressure situation. So Tweek could either go for another forward tilt, which would be like the burst range option. He could go for a walling move, which would counter a reversal. So for example, jumping over MKLeo's options. Or he could go for a setup tool. And in this scenario, he goes for kind of a combination between setup and a walling option, because he does have a frame advantage here. And he gets a reset here on the combo, gets to extend his damage output. Very smart decision making right there. Hello, Zero Suit Heartless. Yeah, we're sticking to English on the Twitch, but I do really appreciate your support. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, gets the throw combo, drops it, but still a very, very strong reset right there. And thanks for the follow, Zero Suit Heartless. Really appreciate the support. Another one of those. That was just a misinput by Tweek, I dare say. But yeah, lots of reversals coming out here. And then the advantage state, the off stage. Arsene on deck. Horrible situation for Tweek right here. But gets a reversal. So yeah, look at this. Look at this. The way Tweek gets out of the corner here. Another one of those neutral air dodges from the platform. Makes his way back to the ground safely. Doesn't bait a reaction out of Leo. Full hops to get vertical control. Fakes out because he knows he couldn't punish it in time. And then dashes under. That's basically like the low risk option here. Dash up shield. Leo trying to read the jump. Of course, I think it was 2 times in a row that Tweek jumped there. So a decent read from Leo, not on point though, and that is Tweek getting out of the corner. Way better than those rolls, because a roll would have been punished there. If he just dashed up and shielded, he would have still gone to mix up any potential commitment from Leo. So yeah, just good coverage right there. Going for the safe option, covering the roll. And then just getting the Ivysaur combo. So this is what advantage state can do to a game, right? Once again, the whiff by Leo. Once again, trying to cover the jump right there. And Leo's constantly jumping. I was about to say, look at that jump cover. And Tweek is mixing it up way better right now. Another one of those reversals, like Leo just misjudging the situation. Tweek getting an advantage where he shouldn't have. And just getting that advantage state. It's insane. Using the platform to pressure again. And that was Leo. That was a Tweek overcommitting to the max. Like, this is a jump read. Made safe by the platform. Very smart. Then dropped his input. Got the forward tilt. Very unfortunate, but, you know, it happens. Tweek actually choked this. He definitely did. He got very antsy. So let's see what MKLeo did to really make this comeback happen. Suddenly we see the down tilt come out. So down tilt, amazing tool for burst range. MKLeo almost never uses it unless it's a guaranteed punish. But now that he's on the back foot, he's trying to mix up his game because he knows that his game plan has been figured out by Tweek. So he needs to think of something new to throw Tweek off. What stage would you say is the best for platform usage? Pokemon Stadium. I would say Pokemon Stadium because you have a lot of room in the middle to control. And there's a lot of room to retreat as well. The issue with Battlefield is that when you do a run-off aerial with Battlefield towards the ledge, there's not a lot of room to mix up your spacing. While on Pokemon Stadium, you have a lot of room both ways when you run off the platform to mix up your spacing. More than any other stage. Smashville is pretty good as well. I feel like Smashville is, like, for some characters even better because there's a lot of room on the platform itself in which you can micro-space around your opponent's tools. But I would say overall it's definitely Pokemon Stadium. So that's just Arsene getting a sick reward. So the down tilt, very good mix up. Anti-air dodge gets reacted to. I think Tweek pressed the button there. I don't think that was a true punish. But still, good punish. Gets the grab on the forward tilt. That was not a reaction. That was a hard read. And then getting the coverage on the switch as well. So I wouldn't even say that's a choke. I just think Tweek's decision making was a little bit too hasty, but still, like, that forward tilt, normally that's safe, so Tweek just or Leo just hard committing to it. And then this jump that he's doing right here, not the best, but going low versus Joker is very scary because Joker can recover from anywhere. So it's just a bad read right there. It happens. It's not a bad play. It's just the wrong play. So not waiting for Arsene was the biggest thing here. And now it's just all advantage state. Anti-air dodge again. Good mix-up. Using the platforms, getting pressured by Leo. And now Leo, if you look at Leo's movement is basically the same that it was before. But he's now throwing out a lot more hitboxes. Look at that. He normally wouldn't do that. He normally wouldn't do these either. That nair was normal, but these back airs to pressure the platform, definitely a lot more aggressive than usual. A lot more hitboxes from Leo than usual. You hate to see it, but this type of playstyle mix-up is essential. And just goes to show how good Leo is, right? Because this is the way he played when he first started, you know, becoming big in Smash 4. Was this type of aggressive playstyle where he balanced... Ooh, that tech. Where he balanced aggressive play with smart decision making. This is like his natural playstyle, I would almost say. But his consistent playstyle is definitely the correct way to play the game. So that 4-throw would have killed post-patch. poor reaction, and that's it. So yeah, that's basically it. Like it's MKLeo making basically changing his playstyle entirely, and Tweek not being ready to react to it. Very interesting, very very interesting gameplay right there. I really wonder what would have happened if, you know, if Tweek would have taken some time after the second KO, like the one with the back air, to platform camp and just kind of reset the pressure. Because that is just horrible. Like having that happen to you. At this point, you know Leo has momentum. And I don't like talking about momentum too much because momentum is like such a up in the air kind of thing. But the momentum was definitely in Leo's favor here. And waiting this out and resetting the momentum from like hot to cold would have been the ideal option here. At the end of the day, though, it was really close. It was really close. So it's not like Tweek made bad decisions. He just made subpar decisions. Decisions that could have been better. He adapted too late. It's hard to adapt in such a short time frame. But yeah, that's just how it is.